Hi, welcome to this session. Apayemi Olasokami again. In this session, we are going to be looking at principles of data visualization. We are going to look at the core concepts, the do's and don'ts, and we are going to look at some of the best recommendations. So, when we are presenting or visualizing data, there are some principles that we have to follow, and these are very, very important in order to ensure that our visuals and presentations are reasonable. One of them is clarity. When we are presenting our data or we are trying to build a visual, there must be clarity in terms of what we want the chart or the graphs to represent, in terms of what we are putting, the kind of information we are adding to the visual. So, the visual must not contain informations that are confusing. The informations and everything about the visual should be clear and be direct to the main objective of designing the visual. The second principle is accuracy. We must ensure that the visual is accurate in terms of its ability to express and show the kind of information that we build it for. Relevance. The visual also must be relevant to whatever we build it for. It should be relevant to the kind of information that we want to express with it. And also the design. The design of the visual must be appropriate. For example, the color, the layouts, and the labels. So we look at different scenarios as we move on. Look at this particular slide. You can see three forms of data presentations. You can see the first one, the table. On the left hand side, you can see a line chart in the middle, and you can see a column chart on the right. The point is this: the table on the left is good for analysis, but it's not good for presentation. So if you present data with this, then you are not going to really achieve anything reasonable. However, in the process of analysis, that table is useful because, in fact, the two charts you are seeing were actually derived from that table. So I had to build that table first, and then I use Microsoft Excel to derive the two charts out of it. Now, but for the purpose of presentation and even for the purpose of analysis and seeing what is happening there, you can see that the two charts are better. However, the question is, which of these two charts should I choose at a particular time? And that comes to the question, what are you actually looking for, or what kind of information do you want to convey? For example, if my goal is just to look at the overall trend or the overall pattern over time, when it comes to the rate of attendance of men, then the line chart in the middle will be my best option. Because as you can see the line chart, it shows us how the attendance is fluctuating over time. You can see the pattern comfortably. However, if my goal is to present or to look at the days when the attendance is high and to compare that with the days when the attendance is low, or if that is what I want to present to my stakeholders, that okay, there are some days when we have some high level of attendance and I want them to see that those particular days at a particular time, and then I want them to also see those days when there was low attendance also in a glance, then the chart on the right, which is the column chart, is going to be the best option. And that is the first thing, that the type of chart we are going to be using depends on the kind of pattern or the kind of information we want from the data, or the kind of information that we want to present to our audience. Now, look at these two charts. These two charts are also from the same table. So you see the previous chart, these two charts also are from the same table. But the question is, look at the chart on the left, the pie chart. Can you make any sense out of this pie chart? I will be surprised if you say yes, because I personally cannot make any sense out of it. And if you remember, I said it that pie charts are usually useful when the categories you are showing are not more than 5. So you can see that pie chart is inappropriate to evaluate or to present this information. So then let's look at the one on the right, which is actually a line chart. A line chart is appropriate to present this information, but if you look at this chart, you can see the sum of men on the top. It doesn't make any sense. You can see another date below. It doesn't make any sense too. You can see total. The question is total of what? You can also see another total on the right side. You can see plot area. So the point is that even though this chart is appropriate for this scenario, this chart is not well designed. And that is key. One can choose an appropriate chart or visual type, but if one does not format it appropriately, it is still going to be useless. So it's a combination of choosing the appropriate visual and then format it in a way that is going to be useful. So one can make an appropriate visual to be unuseful. Let us look at these two scenarios here. Now, these two column charts were also designed from that same table. So, if our goal is to present to the stakeholder that, okay, a particular, in some days, we have high attendance, in some days we have low attendance, that information is also conveyed in the right, in the left column chart. But you can see that one will have to sift through the whole information by oneself by looking around and see where the attendance is high and where it is low. But if you look at the chart on the right hand side, you will see that you don't need to take so much. By just looking at the chart at a glance, you can see where the attendance is high and where it is low. So another way of choosing the right visual but using it inappropriately. So the left column chart is appropriate. However, it is not presented appropriately. Whereas the one on the right is appropriate and is presented appropriately. Over time, when it comes to time series data, like when we are comparing over time, line chart is usually the best option, but in few categories like this, where your overall goal is not a trend, where the overall goal is actually to show a particular type of information like this, then column chart might be very useful. So before moving on, the overall point here is that the left chart shows the pattern that we have some days which are high and we have some days which are low. it shows it, but it does not present it as effective as the one on the right, because the one on the right also shows that information, and we can easily look at those days that are of high attendance and can look at those days that are otherwise without having to strain our brain. And the same thing goes for these two charts too. Assuming what you want to look is the pattern over time, like let's see the trend over time. The chart on the right side also tell us that. So by looking at the chart on the right side, we can also see that there is fluctuation in this attendance over time. But the chart on the left side actually presents it better. From the chart on the left side now, we can see that even though there were some low days, you can see that the low days were actually not increasing, because the first low was 3 people in attendance, and after that the lowest time you have next was 6, and after that 6 is either a 7 or 9, which showed that even though there were some low days, those low days did not continue to become lower. Rather, there were more people in those low days than in the previous days and weeks. So, in conclusion, we have been able to look at the core concept of data visualization. We have been able to look at the do's and the don'ts, and we have been able to look at some of the recommendations that before you present any information or design any visual, you must know what you want to present, the kind of information you want to pass across, and the kind of information you are looking for. So, thank you very much. Until we meet in the next one.